NHL hockey is back in full swing. Waiver wire targets, more important than ever, and the latest edition of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, hotter than ever. We're breaking down all of the top targets that you need to own. This upcoming week, we're running out of time, people. So tap in, let's get this paper, and take your team to the top.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hockey heads, fantasy fanatics, and degenerate gamblers, we're back in the lab, cooking up everything that you need to know to tap in and get this paper. It's the Monday edition of your 30-minute daily source for fantasy hockey news. It's the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, coming in hot. Shout out to the everydayers holding us down, making us your first listen every single day. Sincerely, from both Steele and I, we see you, we appreciate you, and we couldn't be doing the podcast without y'all. We hope we've been pushing your teams to the top and will continue to do so. On today's episode, which is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel Sportsbook, which right now, new customers to FanDuel get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 wager hits. Steele, looking at the waiver wire right now, you know I've been active on it, running out of time. We've said it all, finger on the pulse. You want a piece, throw in all of our common terms here. There's still a number of players that I think can make a difference. So I'm very intrigued to hear who you're looking at. Very exciting couple of days returning from the Four Nations. As predicted, somewhat unpredictable. Big week coming up. Who are you looking at? I got a number of targets. We're going to get to big-time bets. We'll have you guys covered all week long with all of the news that you need. Tap in, hit subscribe. You know what it is. Over to you, Steele. Who you looking at and why?
Yeah, full board of games over the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, and a lot more upcoming this week. And on this episode, waiver wire targets at this point in the season, Flip and I are going to be singing the same song, preaching the same verse with a lot of these players that we're going to be talking about. It's going to be players that we have discussed all season long, a few new ones in there, but we're pretty much, it's a broken record at this point. These are the players that are the most valuable on the waiver wire target this week, starting with the player that has just returned from injury. We haven't really talked about him a lot because he's been on a pretty bad team, and that's Evgeni Malkin of the Pittsburgh Penguins. It's an interesting situation. He missed significant time with them. He just returned to action this past weekend. He had a goal in the game on Saturday, and he currently has 2 points in the game against the New York Rangers on Sunday. So he's got 3 points in his last two games as we speak. Yeah, he had one assist in that 8-3 loss to Washington. But at 42% roster, I think at this point, at 38 years old, you want to try and soak as much of the value as possible. And with this guy who's still in the top six of the Pittsburgh Penguins, kind of jumps up and down from the first power play unit to the second power play unit, still gets some significant ice time. Maybe there's still potential that he could be traded. I'm not sure exactly what his if he has a no trade clause in his contract, but at $6.1 million, a veteran center in the league, a lot of teams that are contending look for that. And as we know with Kyle Dubas, everyone is on the market besides Sidney Crosby. So I still look at Malkin. He has a little bit of value that I want to get as much of as I can until it starts to really fade away. At this point in the season, I think he's still been pretty valuable. 35 points in 48 games. It's actually up to 37 points in 49 games as we speak. Still getting close to 18 minutes of average ice time. So at 42%, somewhere around the same on ESPN as well. I still think he gets a lot of value and has a lot of value. And the Pittsburgh Penguins, they have 4 games this week. The Philadelphia Flyers twice, Boston Bruins, and Maple Leafs. And those are 3 teams that Malkin really steps up and likes to play against, usually produces a lot in the offensive zone. So I like the schedule, even though it is a little bit of a tougher matchup.
Tough sell for me as well after they absolutely got lit up on Saturday by the Washington Capitals. But hey, you're going to have to get a little lucky and get a little nitty-gritty, and why not ride with one of the bigger clutch performers if you are taking risks? This Pittsburgh Penguins club, though, Steele, and I know that it looks like they're probably going to take the dub Sunday. We're recording early as always. I'm just very concerned down the stretch after what I saw, and a good performance from Sid on Saturday as well as squandered by a really poor defensive team. So I'm here for the Malkin take. That one I would actually be very, very careful with. However, like I said, you're going to have to get a little bit lucky. Look, I had to come on here and say something about my boy Cole Perfetti one more time. And I was thinking about this, Steele. Seth Jarvis, it's panned out. Thomas Harley, panned out. Kochetkov, I'd throw in there in the mix of players that I've always been on. That's worked out as well. There's a couple of ones that haven't. But if we're sticking to true brand, locked on fantasy hockey, the boys, the young boys that we've been touting, Cole Perfetti is starting to really prove his worth. And I think what I like about this combination right now the most is Nikolai Ehlers, Nemesnikov, Cole Perfetti on the second line. I'm going to say it right now. You want a piece of this. I would also put Nemesnikov in this conversation, but I'm focusing on Cole Perfetti for right now. 63 on Fantrax, 29 on Yahoo, 24 on ESPN. Been really bringing it of late, up to 36 points on the season. How about this one, though, Steele? 1 goal, 6 assists in his last 5 games. Nemesnikov playing very good hockey as well. Take this in. Jets, red hot, obviously. However, Sharks, Sens, Preds, Flyers, 4 games this week. If you didn't want a piece of them before, Nemesnikov, Cole Perfetti, any way that you can. The Jets are a must-add for me wherever you can get them this week. The schedule, how they've looked, the offense, everything. If you're not trying to fill in a hole with a Winnipeg Jets player, you're really missing the boat. So Cole Perfetti and Nemesnikov come to the top. You're not getting the big guns. But those 2 guys, they're out there. I would highly, highly recommend taking a look at them this week, even though I've said that for a very long time.
Mute button once again. Sorry about that. I'm back. What I was saying, though, while I was mute, I was saying nice little contract for Nemesnikov over the last couple of days. 2 years, $3 million.
Earned it.
Average annual value. So earned it, playing well. Cole Perfetti, Nemesnikov, Nino Niederreiter, those are great guys in the bottom 6 who find a lot of value. And again, you want a piece of some of the top teams right now. Set a franchise record 9-game win streak in Winnipeg. They're doing great. I got to mention this guy that you've been talking about all season long. A lot of GMs out there have been on this player as well. Jackson LaCombe of the Anaheim Ducks. 2 assists in the 3-2 overtime win over the Boston Bruins. Top D pairing with Ratko Gudas. I still think it's going to be a while until this Anaheim Ducks franchise really turns it around and is a competitive team in the Western Conference. But there's still some value with some of their players. And on the blue line, Jackson LaCombe is one of them. 26 points, already a career high in 48 games. He still has about 40%, 35% of the season remaining in this year. Compared to what he did last year in his rookie year, 17 points in 71 games, was a minus 24. He already has 101 shots, 38 hits, and 83 blocks. He pretty much fills out all the peripheral aspects. And if he, at 22 years old, 2nd-round pick for Anaheim just a few seasons ago, I think he's making a really good name for himself. He's put himself into the spotlight. He's earned this opportunity being one of the top defensemen in that roster right now. And let me just get his percentage at 31% on Yahoo, around somewhere around the same on ESPN as well. 3 games this week only for the Ducks, but I like the schedule: Buffalo Sabres, Vancouver Canucks, and the Chicago Blackhawks. So if you need some help on the blue line and looking at the injury status over across the league right now, there's a lot of injuries out there. Which we've talked about, new injuries to actually Brady Tkachuk as well, who could miss that game against the Jets on Wednesday. But I got to throw Jackson LaCombe's name out there because he's really impressed me this season.
You do not need to sell me on Jackson LaCombe, not one iota.
I didn't think I had to.
Thank you very much. A number of other intriguing targets to get to. We're taking a look across the NHL for some options for you to fill in your roster and push for a playoff spot. Steele, shout out to what you gave me a bit of credit for, still lurking on the edge here in our listener league. We'll check back in on how Steele and I's teams are doing. We've got a lot of other angles to cover. The rest of the week, we got bets coming up at the end of the episode and a whole bunch of other targets. You know we're bringing it. We're also bringing it with the coverage on where we like to get our most delicious snacks. Today's episode is brought to you by one of them, Wonderful Pistachios. If you're looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious, Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help you keep feeling fuller longer. Personally, Steele, you know how I feel about snacking. No shell variety, Wonderful Pistache, the perfect grab and go snack for busy days, snacking at my desk, my go-to on a road trip, or you just need a quick protein boost. Make sure you get cracking and snacking with Wonderful Pistachios, the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com today to learn more.
And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. What a way to start off the week. Monday's episode, waiver wire targets. Please make sure you share with your friends and family out there. Hit the subscribe button and the follow button. Real quick before I throw back over to you, from what I'm seeing as of right now on Daily Faceoff, too, with the Anaheim Ducks power play, they're actually running 5 forwards: Mason McTavish, Petrano, Strome, Terry, and Zegras. I don't know how true that is. I don't watch a ton of Anaheim hockey, but that just says Jackson LaCombe is on the second power play unit. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets bumped up to that first PP unit after a couple of games.
Totally agree. He's that guy. He's got that caliber. We don't need to cover that any further. I think you and I talked a little bit about that Morgan Frost, the Philadelphia Flyers trade. They get Farabee, they get Frost, they give up Kuzmenko, Pelletier, I think some picks in there. Andrei Kuzmenko, Steele. Look, a couple of seasons ago, this guy's a darling. 39 goals last year, finishes with 22 this year. Very disappointing. I can't see what I saw from him in the last couple of games playing with Konechny, Scott Lawton on the top power play in Philly. And I know they're ho-hum offensively this season, and they are what they are sitting on the outside of the wild card and looking in. They're only 5 spots back of a wild card spot. This team, I can't sit here and really put my finger on what I think is going to happen for the Flyers. But right now, I see a lot of value offensively in Andrei Kuzmenko. An assist in his previous game with the Flyers and a nice goal in his second game, 4 shots on net, up to 17 minutes of ice time per night. To me, the deployment, the combination, what I saw from him over the weekend, the Philadelphia Flyers also steal. They got the Pens back-to-back this week. Then next week, Flames, Kraken, Devils, and Jets. Bit of a mixed bag there. I really think Kuzmenko is that perfect target that you and I have been explaining. High risk, high reward, but he might go off. 39 on Fantrax, 9 Yahoo, 4 ESPN. To me, there's not many better kind of high risk, high reward situations than Andrei Kuzmenko offensively. Factor in the good 2 games against the Pens. I would be taking a shot on this guy most definitely. Konechny, Lawton, that's a very balanced line for an offensive guy to do his thing.
And sometimes you just need that luck in fantasy hockey. Kuzmenko could be that luck that you need this upcoming week. I'm going to jump over to another Eastern Conference organization that is still fighting for a playoff spot, the Columbus Blue Jackets right now. And I know we've talked about Kent Johnson. I know you want to talk about Boone Jenner as well. Those are the 2 guys I'm looking at from this Columbus team. Kent Johnson and Boone Jenner both rostered between 20 and 25% on Yahoo right now. They have 3 games this upcoming week. They play the Dallas Stars and then the Detroit Red Wings twice. So I actually really like the schedule, even though they're going up against a top team in the West. But these are 2 guys, Boone Jenner back from injury. First game in the season, puts up 1 assist. He's a +2, 4 hits, 1 block, and 1 shot on net. So he's already, filling out all the peripherals throughout your categorical leagues or any fantasy format you're in. Kent Johnson, what did he do last game? 2 goals. The game before that, 1 goal. He's got 5 points in his last 5 games, both on the second line. Kent Johnson on the first power play unit, Boone Jenner starting on the second power play unit as of right now. But Kent Johnson is really surprising to me. And 38 points in 43 games. Obviously not going to get hits, not going to get blocks. The shots, could still put a lot more on net. But right now, 19 goals, 19 assists. He's kind of doing what I expected Adam Fantilli to be doing this season, maybe a little bit more, but he's one of the bright spots in Columbus alongside Marchenko, Voronkov, Chinnikov, and Fantilli, of course. Werenski having a Norris caliber season.
Huge.
This team, I'm not going to say they're Stanley Cup contenders, but they're playoff contenders. They have proven themselves to be really good team right now. Again, like I said on our most recent episode, if they can get some good goaltending from Merzlikins or Tarasov, this team is playoff bound.
They are the only team in quote-unquote wild card position, Detroit Red Wings and all the way down, with a plus goal differential mark. You know, I've been bringing that up quite a bit. I just think at this point of the season, it's somewhat indicative of the overall quality of the team. So sue me if I keep bringing it up, because you'll keep hearing it along with the special teams. And I pointed that out, that as much as this team is sitting, I believe, tied in 8th for overall goals for, the power play really needs to pick it up. And I think with this team getting healthy, you're going to see it. Shout out to Kent Johnson, but why do you think I believe he had a little bit more room to work and pop those 2 goals? Because Boone Jenner's on that second line with him now. I think it's Cole Sillinger up the middle. I like what they've done here to balance it out. I think it's Dean Evison behind the bench now, I believe.
Yes, it is, sir.
Columbus. You and I really like that coach as well. I like what's going on in Columbus in a very big way. And yeah, I have to mention Boone Jenner. You mentioned all the stat lines. Boom. Also mentioned 42 on Fantrax for Jenner, 20 on Yahoo, 26 on ESPN. He's out there. Quickly, I've got a couple other players to mention right after the break in bets. Savoie, this is an easy one. We brought it up yesterday. 34 on Fantrax, 3 on Yahoo Steel, 1 on ESPN. The Edmonton Oilers have a very tough schedule this week. Lightning, Panthers, Hurricanes. That's a tough East Coast trip for a West Coast team, especially given the quality of those 3 clubs. Savoie, as long as he's playing with Leon Draisaitl, he's auto ad for me. I don't even care. The second he gets pumped from there, we can talk about it. But for now, he already has an assist. He is going to continue to get very good looks to get on the score sheet. Peripherals, not there. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about a big boost for a good opportunity for a first-round draft pick. Savoie, you covered it all with me yesterday. I'll say it again. Definitely for me, while with Draisaitl, must add, no questions asked.
It's the only question you have to ask. Is he playing with Draisaitl? The answer is yes, and that is an automatic add. We've got a few more players that we want to talk about that could help you win your weekly matchup this upcoming week. And, of course, big-time bets at the end of the episode where you can place those bets. That is FanDuel.com. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game. So even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in on the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay. I absolutely love using FanDuel's live betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting. Whether I'm backing my team for a late game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch 3, I never feel like I missed my chance. Plus, the app is easy to use. And when you win, you get paid instantly, which is amazing. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And once again, thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Continue to hit the subscribe button, the follow button, leave a 5-star review. Flip and I appreciate all that love and support you show us Monday through Friday. Real quick, before I throw it back over to you, Flip, my last player I want to talk about is Jordan Staal, rostered at 10% on Yahoo right now. I think this is more of a deep dive sleeper pick here. Just a guy, again, who really does it all. Veteran leader for the Carolina Hurricanes, 108 hits, 34 blocks, 80 shots on net. He's got 10 goals, 29 points in 57 games. He's a plus 14. A guy who can play, is a sneaky little ad for shorthanded points as well. He's got 2 shorthanded goals this season, second power play unit. This is a guy that really just fill in those peripheral, and then, a couple of points here and there is just the cherry on top. So if you need some help in the categoricals, hits, blocks, shots, and plus minus categories, I think this is a good player at 10% on Yahoo right now.
Shout out to a veteran stud, just still grinding and getting it done. I don't know what you think about this take, Steele, and you can check me a little bit if you think it's completely off the mark, and that's why I like doing this with you. Look, the Buffalo Sabres are dead last in the Eastern Conference. Okay, I understand. 51 points, turning around an 11-point deficit. I don't see a wild card spot happening. But when I see some of these flashes of brilliance from Rasmus Dahlin, who really I do think doesn't get nearly enough credit as what he can do, fantasy for sure. But what he can do, I think he doesn't even realize how good and how impactful he can be. When he's dancing on the blue line, dangling, man, throwing hits, scoring goals, I don't think there's many defensemen better than him. He's got a little bit of, I think, a consistency issue, and that might come with age. All I wanted to say is I still think that there is a lot of value here in the Buffalo Sabres, and you brought this player up before. Jason Zucker is playing on the top power play unit. He has 8 points in his last 5 games. He is playing over 16 minutes of ice time per
doing
night.
good.
He throws a few hits, block shots, no. But power play points, 16, 44 points on the season. Right now on the top power play unit with Peterka, Thompson, Dahlin, Jack Quinn. That is all I really need to hear, Steele, because regardless of what happens with the Sabres, even though I do think they're actually going to continue to play good hockey, that's a really sneaky angle that could bring you a ton of value. UPL is not going to be out there in a lot of your leagues. Like I just looked at his ownership, 85
He's still rostered.
Yeah, 73 on Yahoo. I think there's a ton of value in him. So if you've got one of these guys who have him, he's your third goaltender, I would very much consider rotating in UPL. I see a lot of value in a lot of Sabres here, Steele, especially if they continue to put up points like they did over the weekend. Shout out to Jason Zucker. Lastly, Sabres, Ducks, Canes, and Canadians this week. And I believe they get the Canadians again and a few good games after that. So Sabres, I'm taking a really big look at. I just wanted to throw that out there before we get to bets.
Yeah, I mean, this team's surprising me. I really thought this would be a year that they could make the playoffs. And honestly, if they don't go on that 13-game losing streak, they're still fighting for a playoff spot. I believe they're about 12 to 14 points back right now. They're pretty much out of it. Less than 1% from last I saw. Real quickly, I forgot the Carolina Hurricanes, Jordan Staal. They do have 4 games this week as well. Montreal Canadiens, Buffalo Sabres, Edmonton, and the Calgary Flames. So good schedule, 4 games on the week for the Hurricanes. But I agree, Rasmus Dahlin, some of those guys, Jason Zucker, your take on Rasmus Dahlin and Jason Zucker's value on that top line. I mean, I said it before. I've had him on my team now for the last 2 months in multiple different leagues, and he's been fantastic. Put up a 3-assist night in that big win over the New York Rangers on Saturday.
Boom.
Let's get over to big time bets. 2 games on the schedule. I don't know how you felt about these games, but the first one between the Sharks and the Jets, I had to really dive in deep and get a little bit more information because the money line, there's no way I'm doing it at minus 420 right now is what the current odds are at. There's no value there. The puck line at minus 160, it looked intriguing. I want to go with it, but looking deeper into the numbers, the Sharks or the Jets have actually struggled against the Sharks in the last 10. They're 6-4-0 in the last 10 against the Sharks. They have won the last 4, but only one of those 4 have been won by 2 or more. So very close games between these 2 clubs right now. So I went a little bit of a different direction with this. I got a player prop and an over and under. First pick of the night. Mark Scheifele, anytime goal, or you can go with the 2+ points. I think Mark Scheifele, he's been one of the best goal scorers in the league this season. He's got 3 multi-point games in his last 5 regular season games, and he's just one of those guys that continues to find, facilitate, and shoot the puck at will, and he shoots the puck a lot this season. So I like Mark Scheifele, either the anytime goal or 2+ points. Then the Sharks and Jets, I'm also feeling the under and a half. As much as you want to go with the over, again, you can go with the under 5.5 or tease it up to under 6.5. But right now at under 5.5, you can get plus 112. And actually 7 of the last 10 have gone under the number. You would think that they've been a lot more overs, but that has not been the case. It's either Connor Hellebuck just standing on his head, shutout, 1 goal against, which he does a lot of, or it's just like a 3-2, 4-2 situation. So I'm actually going to spice it up. Take the under 5.5 at plus 112. I like the odds here, and I think it's going to be, exactly that, a 3-2 type of situation for the Winnipeg Jets.
Thank you very much, Mr. Roden. I couldn't agree with you much more. I also have 2 player prop picks from this game, along with I'm taking it up to 6.5. You know how I feel about the buffer zone Saturday? I said that about the Carolina Hurricanes Toronto Maple Leafs game. About 12 minutes left, I'm sitting pretty, and then 7 goals erupt in 9 minutes, and I look like I don't know what I'm talking.
Just a brutal beat.
So let me go back to the under tease 6.5. First pick for this Winnipeg San Jose game that I do have a same game parlay. Kyle Connor looked like he was shot out of a cannon on Saturday night. Got the shootout winner, I believe. Got an assist, 10 shots on net. This guy is a very underrated player having a sensational season. The Four Nations, I really don't give any care about fantasy value or bets.
Yeah.
I'm going back to Kyle Connor. He's ready to go. This Winnipeg Jets team as well. Kyle Connor, anytime point, along with the under 6.5, and hit me with Kyle Connor 5+ shots on net. I said Pasta, 4+ shots on net on Saturday, also got cooked. He had 3. So I might get burned once again, Steele, but I feel fairly confident here in a San Jose Sharks situation that, yes, no value on the puck line, no value on the money line. Under 6.5. Kyle Connor anytime point. Kyle Connor 5+ shots on net. After 10 shots on net, I think I'm good with 5+ shots on net as my lock of the night.
I'm not sure what the odd will be on that, but you should still be getting at least plus 100, somewhere around there. But maybe after a 10-shot night, they have the odd a little. Yeah, maybe take it to 6. But I like the same game parlay. Might have to do that. Add the under 5.5 and the Mark Scheifele anytime goal in there. My lock of the night, I'm going with the Kings on the money line against the Vegas Golden Knights. It actually goes in favor of Vegas. They've won 6 out of the last 10. It can be 50-50, but right now, money line at -115 for the Kings. They play really great at home. They're 18-3-2 in LA at home. And again, it's a tough opponent against Vegas, but I'm going to go with a team that just plays really confident, strong hockey in their own building at home. They're playing really good this season so far, and this is a tough matchup. Could be a playoff first round matchup potentially. So who knows what happens? But I'm going to go with the home team for my lock of the night on this one.
If Saturday's predictions were any indication, it actually holds a whole lot of water what we were saying earlier on Saturday's episode, that the next couple of weeks, as we push towards that March 7th trade deadline, are going to be very tricky to handicap betting-wise, Steele. So I would just say dial it back. I don't know what our track record was on that 14-leg parlay, but I know it wasn't too pretty. So better week, bounce back. Let's get into it.
Yeah, it didn't go too well. We were looking good in that first game, and then an absolute collapse from the Detroit Red Wings. And then the Edmonton Oilers just got absolutely slapped around by the Philadelphia Flyers. So
and again on Sunday as well, the Oilers.
We started off 0-2 on Saturday, and it did not go well. It did not get any better from there on. So we'll just completely forget this weekend. We'll start anew on Tuesday. Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen for Monday's waiver wire targets. For your second listen, please go make sure you check out the Locked On NHL podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. From your boys here on the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Pod, we wish you good luck with those weekly matchups. Make sure you're staying peeled in, locked in to win your championship. Good luck with your bets, and we shall see you back here again tomorrow.
Peel it in, baby.